food is such a personal, tangible thing. And the idea of someone being like, here's a gift to the world of something that was really important to them in life and then can be shared in death. I'm obsessed with this idea, and I think it's so personal and such just a beautiful way to like share a memory of a person. Really, really beautiful grave, and it has the ingredients of her spritz cookie. And I mean, during the pandemic, like many other people, I finally had a little bit more free time to cook. I was home more often. And so it wasn't just that she liked cookies, it says like how to make her cookies. And so I was like, oh, I'll try it and I'll post about the experience. And things just blew up from there. It's incredible. Like objectively, it's such a good recipe. I made it wrong the first time because it doesn't have the instructions for it. It just says the ingredients. And I'd never heard of a spritz cookie before. So just looking at the ingredients and I'm like, it kind of looks like a sugar cookie. So I cooked it like a sugar cookie. And all these people on TikTok were like, oh, a spritz cookie, you're supposed to use like a cookie press for this. So I didn't know what that was. I looked it up and I bought one. And now at this point, I own like 4 cookie presses. I actually was very fortunate to meet the family. They came up to Brooklyn back in November. And so we got to cook Naomi's cookie recipe together and cook it correctly, because I had been, even with instructions that I found on the internet and the cookie press, I'd still been making them wrong. So her granddaughter walked me through how to make the recipe correctly, and her whole family is incredible. They still make the recipe every year. Her great grandson still is like their resident cookie maker. So yeah, it's a really, really good recipe. At this point, all of these have been crowdsourced. I haven't like organically found any of these by walking through a cemetery. I've been to a lot of cemeteries at this point, but I've never just seen one in the wild. And overall, I've only found about 20 of them, mostly in North America, 2 in Israel, mostly women, and mostly baked goods, I'll add. So it's not super common considering how many cemeteries and graveyards there are out there. But, there's more than one of them, which makes it super interesting. Part of my process is like I hear about it. I try to find out as much about who the person was, maybe an obituary or anything about the graveyard. I have like this like Google map where I have them all pinned to like where the gravestone is or where I think it is. And then once I learn about the person, then I'll try to make it. These recipes, from my understanding and the people I've talked to, they were something that they were kind of known for in life. Like Naomi made these spritz cookies, and her son Richard talks about how he would bring them to like work events, and people would say, this is a really good cookie, can I have the recipe? And she would always say no. This was like a treasured recipe of hers. So when it came time towards the end of her life, when they were planning for her gravestone and her memorial, it was Richard, her son's idea, to put the recipe on her gravestone, because he's like, this was her, like this says more, like the ingredients to this and like cooking with her it represented her better than just like words and dates and things like that. I mean, we've all really dealt with our own like thinking about our own mortality a lot in the last few years, more than we'd probably like to. And so I think for me, it's been a really healthy process of death is inevitable, and it seems really scary. I'm personally very afraid of it. And so that was my entry point to the death positive movement, which is this idea that like people and society are better off if we accept that this will happen someday and have healthy conversations with our loved ones, with ourselves, of like, how do I want to be remembered and memorialized? I think like food is such an interesting and easier, healthy way to talk about really hard topics.